Hey y'all, it's JessMelodies coming to you with another episode of Chicago Got Next. On today we have Rhymster. What's up, Rhymster?
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
I'm pretty good. Glad you're here.
Here we are.
Yes, on a Saturday. And so today we're gonna really just hop into the music. Rhymster recently dropped a project, and so we're gonna talk through that. We're gonna talk about who is the artist Rhymster. We're gonna get into it, y'all. So first question: who is the artist Rhymster?
The artist Rhymster, I am, well, not just the artist. I like to say like I'm an entrepreneur, or jack of all trades. I produce, I engineer, I curate events, I host events. I guess you could say like dabble in the social media stuff. More than usual, just try and do that. My own manager, like, you know, I book events. The list goes on and on. Just like little things like I dabble in and just like to learn. But I started as an artist, but I took that whole like, you know, Jay-Z approach, or any big artist you see, like, you know, J. Cole's, Diddy's, Drake's, whatever. They all have like businesses that they launched after, or they have multiple skills.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like at first I know J. Cole was like a producer, and then I started finding out like, oh, he's made this beat, he made that beat. So I was like, so it really inspired me to, you know, make it bigger. And I'm a part of the collective called Ever Evolved, and you know, we have a whole team of just creatives, artists, graphic designers, singers. We run our own studio, we run our own music blog, so it offers like many outlets for myself and my creativity. So I'll definitely say a jack of all trades, more or less.
Okay, and so that was literally going to be one of my questions. You are like this jack of all trades, and so like, would you say that there's one part that you gravitate towards, or one that you're more passionate about, or what would you say?
I'll definitely say my artistry. I'm definitely passionate about, because that's, you know, like that's my core.
Yeah. And
everything was kind of like a branch off. But I mean, I have my days where it's like I'd rather be producing, or you know, doing the business side, and it's like it's kind of hard to wear multiple hats, especially, you know, when like my schedule, like our studio's 24/7, so it's like I could be recording somebody 9 in the morning or 2 in the morning. So, and I have to work around my schedule as far as like when I want to work on music. And as an artist, it's like I could be creative in the middle of nowhere, but then I'll be in the middle of working or something. So it's like it's kind of a challenge. But yeah, I think more or less my artistry always like is gonna be just slightly above everything else. But everything else is kind of like creeping in a little bit. So we'll see. Maybe in like a year or two, ask me that again. And then we'll see. You know?
Which one you're more passionate about?
Yeah.
So you mentioned how kind of you have your collective Ever Evolved, and a Ryan Rosenberg, right?
Yes.
Ryan Rosenberg, he wrote an article, and he basically called you the MC with an entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
And so I found that to be like a great way to kind of describe who you are, because like you say, you are the jack of all trades, you do a lot of different things. And so would you say that is, if we had to sum it up, like that would be it, like the MC with the entrepreneurial spirit?
Exactly, an MC with entrepreneurial spirit. Shout out to him. So he's a freelance writer. You know, he's at college, Columbia College right now, writing for them and stuff. But yeah, man, he vibed with the project, and then he had written about another project, a few projects, and a few singles of mine. And like he was very, you know, detailed with his wording, but like I said, that was definitely a stand-up MC with an entrepreneurial spirit. So.
I looked at his bio, and he called himself the Anthony Fantano wannabe, and I found that to be so funny. And then in terms of kind of your stage name, where did it come from?
It actually came from, I was in a studio session, 2013. We were at some singer session, and she was like smoking high as a kite, and she didn't really smoke like that, and she was like on my laptop like writing a story. She was writing a short story about like everyone that was in the room. So then she starts like reading the story, and she's giving everyone like nicknames, and she was like, this person does this, and originally she called me Sir Rhymster, and had like a poetic description like, Sir Rhymster moves the waters and mountains of earth with his thing. And I was like laughing at it first, but then like later on I read it, I was like, oh, the name Rhymster kind of like, it's dope. I mean, because there was already a Sir Michael Rocks from Cool Kids, so I was like, I don't want to be like a Sir, you know, something. So then I dropped the Sir, and I just kept Rhymster. And that's why in my Instagram name, it's Rhymster13, because 2013 was like the year I became Rhymster. So everybody's always asking me like, oh, why is it 13? And I was like, because 2013 is when I forgot what I was going by at that point. Everybody got like 20 different rap names.
Exactly, and now like
before they become who
they
are. So no, that's haven't talked to her in a long time. But
Okay.
yeah, that was a funny story.
Well, shout out to her for giving you the
for
name.
being high as a kite and writing.
You mentioned 2013. Now, 2013, is that when you started rapping, or?
No, I didn't start rapping until it was like 2010. So I probably like got out of high school.
Okay.
I was more into sports and stuff, but I was always like musically inclined. Like, you know, my parents' stuff, like I'm Mexican and Cuban, and my stepdad is black, so it's like I had 3 different.
Oh,
you
wow,
know,
you had a lot of inspiration.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, my Hispanic family's playing, you know, Mexican family, that kind of music,
Yeah.
Cuban music, and then, you know, my stepdad introduced me to like hip hop, Prince, jazz music, blues music, so it's like
super dope.
So it's kind of like I was kind of getting molded and prepped
Yeah.
for it without even really knowing
so
it.
many different sounds
Yeah.
that you get to play with because you kind of grew up in that. That's dope.
Yeah, and a lot of people know when I was younger I used to play the accordion. I used to like
Wow.
Yeah, random fact.
That was literally gonna be my next
Oh,
question. Like,
yeah.
what's a random fact about you? That's it. You played the accordion.
I played the accordion when I was younger, and I guess I really don't remember as much, but apparently I was really good. My mom said I was like in competitions against like high school kids and stuff, and I was winning stuff. So, but then I got into sports, so then that's when I put the accordion down. But it's funny, like now, the accordion is essentially like playing the piano on one hand and the other. So now, starting next month, I'm gonna start taking like piano lessons.
Super dope.
So it's like I feel like it's gonna come back easily, but
yeah,
that's a very random fact that people don't know.
Yeah. So you started rapping back in 2010. What kind of inspired you to start rapping? Has it always been rap? Have you sung or?
No, it was funny. I was a fairly quiet kid.
Okay.
I remember being like in speech class, like my hands shaking, like with the paper, and like nobody's even paying attention because it's high school. Like nobody cares. And then like it's funny, like years later, I'm performing in front of like hundreds of thousands of people.
Right.
So it's like it's a funny feeling. But no, I hung out with these group of friends. Like my sophomore year, they would just ride around the car, ride around smoking, and then they would attempt to freestyle, but they weren't that good.
Yeah.
So like they would always try to get me to do it, and I'd be like, oh, I'm good. I don't want to freestyle, like I'm good, like you know, but like low key by myself, and I would try here and there.
Yeah.
But then my senior year, I'm not a very school person, so like my senior year, like me and my friends would just be in class, like writing raps, like pretty much like dissing one another.
Yeah.
So it turned into that, and then I started freestyling for real with my homie Nixon. Shout out to him, he's a tattoo artist. Now he knows how to beatbox. So one day we kicked it like in the summer after I graduated, and he was like, "Oh man, I know you don't really like smoke weed and stuff, but we should like smoke whatever." I'm like, "Oh, whatever, sure."
Yeah.
So we smoked, and then we went to this one intersection. It's on Austin and Milwaukee, in front of this Chase Bank, in front of this bench, and we went there, and he started beatboxing, and I just started freestyling, and we did it every day for the rest of the summer.
Wow.
We would get high and go to that bench. He would beatbox and I'd freestyle. We do like 20 minutes. So it was just basically freestyling at first.
Okay.
And then as I went on, I obviously learned that as I studied, 90s hip hop and that, talk about lyricism and stuff and structuring the music, structuring the song. You could spit 64 bars all day, but then, if you don't know how to structure it. That's why I say a lot of people know how to rap, but they don't know how to make a song.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
So my thing was just from the age of 18 to 20. Before I turned 21, I was just going to parties. I was anywhere I could find somebody rapping, ciphering. I would be in there. Just I'd be in my car with my homies, and they would just listen to me rap for hours on hours, not caring and stuff. So it all started like that, but eventually, like I said, it evolved into me learning what an artist really is. Because it's dope to freestyle and stuff, but once I'm able to create something like a story or really get in tune with the emotion, that's when I started, I guess you could say, flourishing. Yeah. And then around that time, I started to meet members of my collective, one by one. So it kind of just kept growing and growing.
Yeah, and you all kind of grew up together.
Yeah.
And then so you mentioned the whole cipher and freestyling. For me, because I'm a huge critic when it comes to hip hop and rappers, especially with a lot of artists that we're getting these days that are mainstream. And so there's another level of respect that I have for people that can just go off the dome there, cipher, freestyle, because that to me, you're a true artist to me.
Yeah, it's almost like scatting in jazz, where it's
you're
not necessarily, you have to go with the melody of the musician.
Your mind has to really work that way.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny. A lot of people always say oh, I can't freestyle. I'm like, bro, anybody can freestyle. It's just it's a muscle memory. So basically, I'll give one trick out. It's like flashcards. Let's say I had 20 flashcards and I wrote a different word on each one. Every time I hold it up, I should be able to. My brain should be able to know 5 words that I already do that.
That word in there.
So that's how I used to freestyle like that. I used to tell my friends yo, say a word out loud, and then that'll make my brain be like, okay, I gotta rap this word. But on top of that, it's not just that. It's just you gotta be quick enough to do that, but still be able to keep the flow of your bars and stuff. Like I just think people who have some like raw bars, but their flow is kind of like, that's alright. Or their flow is dope, but they got maybe the most simple rhymes. But then if you're able to execute both, like you get in that zone, it's like, oh, like man, watch out.
Right.
So
Right.
and it's fun. It's always challenging. I always find it funny when I like watch like the Sways and Tim Westbrook, because I know who's freestyling and I know who ain't freestyling. Yeah. You could tell who is.
Yes, I'm telling you, you can tell like with their body language, if their body language like precedes like the word, it's like all of those signs. And I'm telling you, you can tell.
When I freestyle, I like to like incorporate what's around me. So it's like, like, oh man, he just rapped about the garbage can right there or something, So it's like just to show the case, like that. And then on top of that, when you freestyle, you kind of like every artist has like this moment. It's like not even maybe half a second where you have to think of the next rhyme. So it's like you could tell in that moment that, okay, he just thought of that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Versus like, I already know this and I'm gonna, I'm gonna go on in.
Like,
Or a lot of artists do is they'll spit a 16 off their upcoming album that nobody's heard yet. So the one of like Kanye West and Pusha T at Hot 97 or something, like he's spitting something off My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. And at first everybody was like, man, he snapped. And then like 2 months later you heard it on the album. You were like, oh, that's the same verse.
Yeah.
But
he's Kanye, so it's like, we'll give you a pass. You can take that.
So it's definitely interesting to see like which artists can do it and which artists can't do it.
Who would you say kind of your top 5 is when it comes to your top 5 rappers of all time?
Man, it's always the toughest one.
I know, and I said 5 too.
Well, I won't put it in order, but I'll say Nas for sure one. If it wasn't for Illmatic, I definitely wouldn't be rapping. I remember listening to Illmatic, I was like, this kid was only 18 when he made this. Oh my god, like crazy. I gotta put Biggie in there. That's another heavily influenced.
Okay.
I'll definitely put Kendrick in there because I've been following Kendrick since way back.
Okay.
Just to see his progression.
Yeah.
I got 2 more slides. Damn.
Yeah.
For me, I'm gonna put Dr. Dre in there because that's a huge influence on me.
He has
from
the
production,
business down.
the business to production. Damn, 5.
Those are some good ones though.
I'm gonna have to give it to. Right now, I would give it to Jay-Z over Drake and Cole because I think Drake and Cole have a little more to prove.
Right.
But Jay-Z, and I'm talking about, like you said, top 5, like not just so much music, but so much what they did, what the music took them to.
Yeah. Like the mogul status.
Like Jay-Z was, 28, 29 when he first really got on, and people were like, oh, you're already too old in hip hop. But then he's the youngest like billionaire in hip hop. Yeah. So it's like,
damn, he was 28 back in '96. Was it 96 when Reasonable Doubt dropped?
Yeah, when he first came out, he was only like 28, 29. Yeah.
Damn, he was a little old.
Eminem, the same thing. People don't realize that when he came out with Hi, my name is like with Dr. Dre, like he was 28, 29 at the time. So a lot of people don't realize it's like, and they told him like, oh, you're too old for this, but now he's youngest, richest man in the world. You know, so.
And just like the relevance and, creating music that's timeless. Like Jay-Z can still out-rap like anybody in my opinion. And I just don't think when it comes to just like putting like, I don't know, like I guess you would call it like a time limit on someone's dreams.
Yeah,
like,
there really is.
Like people, because you didn't start in the game when you were like 18, 19 years old, 28, you're old. Like, what are you doing this for? Like, your time is up.
Yeah, like there's a time window or something.
That. Yeah. Like when you can really get on and be successful. It can happen at any time.
Oh yeah, like I don't know if you know who Griselda is. Griselda Records. They're like the hot new cats from New York. Well, they're from Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
And like they're just some like street rapping dudes.
Yeah.
But like they're like in their 30s and stuff because they came from the streets and half of them were
Mm-hmm.
locked up like half their 20s and they came out and like got on their game and grind and they just signed a deal with like Rock Nation, Shady Records. It's like they're going crazy.
Nice. So what would you say kind of your writing process is?
It all really depends like on the beat and like the moment you're in. Sometimes it's like the beat's hot, like yo, let me go in there and lay this down and then I can come back later and like okay, I'll keep that, I'll take that out. I do like to sit down and write when I have a chance. Sometimes I do this thing called keywords. So I'll go throughout my day and maybe like I'll hear like a quote on the radio or I'll hear like something that catches my ear or something and then like All right, man. For example, watch. Let's see what's in my keyword. I haven't looked at
Okay.
my keywords for like 2-3 days, and like I'll look back at it when I'm listening to a beat, and then it might inspire like an idea or a song. All right, keywords. What a man wants tells you nothing. What a man needs tells you everything. I trust the next chapter because I know the author. Like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I hear like these are all probably from like movies, music, this and that. So now
And you'll
I
just
go
like
back.
write them down and.
Yeah. So
okay.
now I go back and be like detach. I wrote this last night. Detach from the attachment. Like okay, now I know like what I was feeling in that moment. So
right.
that could go back. I can go into that and be like, okay, I can get inspired from this line, or maybe like rephrase it in my own words, and then that'll be like the kickoff of my rhyme. Sometimes I write like rhymes in my head, and then I could get up to like 10, 12 bars in my head, and then I'll write them down. Or just like if I think of a bar during the day, I'll write it down.
So I saw that you opened up for Method Man and Redman.
Yeah.
How the hell was that experience?
Well,
like Method Man, I hold him like.
Unfortunately, Method Man couldn't make it that day, so Redman was there.
Okay.
But Redman absolutely, like, he killed that shit.
Right.
Like he definitely delivered a performance. I wish it would have been both of them, but I mean.
Yeah, but still.
Oh yeah, of course. Just to be able to share the same stage.
Yeah.
Ed Lover came out. People who know who Ed Lover is, he was like a host on UMTV Raps back in the day, like super iconic a personality in hip hop.
Yeah.
So it was cool to see him come out and like talk shit to the crowd and all that. But yeah, man, that man turned up. He did at least like 45 minutes by himself.
Yeah.
Just absolutely killed it. But to share the same stage as that, like, it's a blessing. But like I've opened up for Dave East. I've opened up for Currency twice.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like, to me at first I was kind of like, when I first opened up for a big artist, I was like, oh man, I'm opening up for Currency, yada yada, this and that, and like. But then I realized I'm like, I'm essentially doing the same thing they're doing. They're just at a higher level than I am. Cause I was running to artists like, man, I want to open for so and so, and I want to meet them. I tell them like, yo, it ain't that sweet, bro. Like you probably more than likely are not gonna meet them. If you do, it'll probably be a quick what's up, like, oh, what's good, G?
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of them don't really, it all depends who's booking them, whatever, and all that. So my purpose when after the first Currency show, I told myself I was like, I don't care who I open for, like I may be a fan of them, but at the same time, like this is my competition, like. One day they could be opening up for me for all they know, you know what I'm saying? Like in my city, so yeah. So even when I did the Redman and the Dave East, like I studied them as if they were like another local MC in the streets. Like yo, like I see where you at, I see what you're doing, I pay homage and respect, but like, and I take gems from like, okay, well, how did he get here? How does he get the crowd to be as involved as?
Yeah.
That's why what we did at Revolve was like we ran our own studio because like I'm not gonna be overcharged by somebody who's not gonna really care about my product. So we invested in ourselves. We curated our own events. We like I said, we thrown shows in Omaha, California, Michigan. We're going to Vienna, Austria in May. Our first Europe show. So it's like, and we're the ones doing it. We're the ones that set it up. We made the relationships, the connections. Like I said, the blog, the events. Like it's not just about us. Like we'll like I'll host at an event, but I may not perform it all because I want everybody else to get their shine. But if it's a show dedicated to us, and for sure. But that's what I think our goal is, and I think we have the potential. I think within the next year and a half, 2 years is the window for Chicago to be like to step up. Until if it doesn't, then it's gonna move on to somewhere else. So that's why. I would just
hate for that to happen. I would hate for it to happen. Now, like you mentioned, how you all do a whole lot of everything. Like, do you have like management, or y'all like really just doing it yourself?
I have like interested management.
Okay.
My guy, shout out to him, Austin Smiley. He's a lawyer, and then he went to school for like entertainment and all that stuff. So I reach out to him whenever I need advice and stuff. But man, actually 9 years now, like I try to have people like manage stuff, and like it's just like my work ethic is just like 20 times like harder than yours. So it's like, why am I gonna pay you to manage me when I can just do it myself? And I wanted to go to, when I was younger, I wanted to go to Columbia College to learn and stuff, but they were like, oh, $60,000 a semester, and I'm like, well, this ain't gonna work. While I guess you say everybody was at college, I was like 21, 22, like I was hitting events, I was hitting like the sub-Ts, I was talking to, like the managers and owners, so I was learning how to talk to like business people, and I was being vouched for by this guy to that owner to this business, so it kind of just looped around, and that's why it kind of got to the point where it's like, man, I can just manage myself. I know who to call if I want to set up a show. I know who to do this, set up a show, and then with other artists in my collective, they about do the same thing. A few of them, I help out. They ask me, oh, can you help me do this? I'm like, yeah, for sure, but you don't necessarily need a manager unless you just really popping at that moment. But I think it's important for every artist to know how to speak with a business manager of a venue, the sound people, bar, everybody that's a part of your show.
Yeah.
You need to know how to speak with them. You need to learn their language. I need to learn how to speak to a sound guy. So I had to be like, yo, turn the high ends up. Can you cut his lows out? I can't just be like, turn it up, turn it down.
Yeah,
turn it up. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be able to speak their language and stuff, and learn when to address them, when to talk to them, when to send an email, when it's just all that. So I would like a manager in the future because give me a little break here and there. But at the same time, I'll probably be on like, yo, what's the agenda? I want them to
and
be
it's
hit.
about being that good fit. And
Exactly.
you don't want it to be a situation. I was just talking about this. You don't want it to be a situation where someone comes in and you feel like you can do what they do. Like if someone is easily replaceable, maybe they're not someone that should be on your team. Because it's like if you feel like you can do what they do, it's like
then why are you even here?
Exactly.
Yeah. No,
exactly.
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. Heaven for Roses. Okay, that's the new project that you dropped this year, which is super, super good. Now I see that it's 4 songs, 8 minutes. Pure Noon, which was your other EP, which was 5 songs, 10 minutes. And so, what's the reason for? I know it's an EP, right? But do you see yourself? I guess continuing to go the route of releasing like EPs and very short projects. Is there like a method to the madness on why you release short projects? Is it consumerism? Like,
that's a good question. I don't know. I think just talking with Amir Quinn online, like when we did Pure Noon, I think he convinced me to be like, yo, let's just keep it like short and sweet, like to the point. And the project I dropped before that was called 39 that I did with my ever evolved brother Frequency.
Okay.
That was like 11 tracks, maybe 10, 11 tracks. I'm like, this is a really good project. But I just think with Ed Muir's sound, it was like just different, where he challenged me to kind of like get to the point in a short amount of time.
Got you.
So that's what we did with Pure Noon, and then it kind of just happened again for Heaven for Roses. Like I was like, oh, here's the 4. Like, and he was like, cool, just like leave it like that. He always sends me more beats, so like I'll have like almost 15 beats from him.
Okay.
And I made right to all of them, but I was like, okay, no, I'm gonna pick these 4.
Okay.
And do that. As far as strategy, I guess, you could say like, people's attention span is kind of shorter, but it's not like Amigos giving you like 30 tracks of the same shit. Like when they dropped Culture 2 or something, and it was like 27 tracks, but really like only like 4 or 5 of them like really bang. But I'm like, you gotta understand, like they're the type of group that needs to make a over amount of songs because they need to deliver.
Yeah.
So with me it was just like I know what I want to deliver in these 4 songs. They're all not like turn up this and that. That's their style, like that's their thing. But to me it's like we're going back to the Jay-Z thing, like short albums, short things where it's like it makes you long for more.
Right.
So I guess I have longer projects coming out, but I think the formula with Ed Muir is like we keep it short and sweet with me and him. But definitely in the future I want to do like a full length project with him.
Gotcha.
I dropped like single. I just dropped a new single, Product of Me, but so that's my goal. Like drop singles, project, single project, single project. I already have like 2 or 3 like collab projects like gonna drop within the next like 4 months, and those are all like 8 to 12 songs.
Yeah. Now Edmore, is that how you pronounce it? Edmore Quinn?
Yeah, Ed Muir.
Ed Muir. Yeah. Okay. So he's out of Puerto Rico, right?
He is.
Now, how did you all get connected?
He actually found me on SoundCloud.
Okay.
He hit me up. He was like, hey, I'm doing this like compilation tape. He's like, I really like your sound. I'm doing this compilation tape with different artists featured from around the world. I was like, oh, cool, yeah. He's like, so he sent me a beat, and the beat was Watch Out, which is the last bonus track on Pure Noon.
Okay.
And so I sent it back to him in like a week, and I'm like, yo, like, do your thing, and then he hits me up like 2-3 weeks later. He's like, oh man, like that's like the standout track on my compilation tape. Like, I got the most plays, and people were asking about it and stuff. So I just kept talking with him, and I'm like, yeah, man, like we got some more music, like let's work. So he just kept sending me more stuff, and then it just turned into, man, let's just make a project. I'm like, cool, let's make a project. And then
might as well, right?
Pure Noon took about maybe like 6 to 8 months to make.
Okay.
The fact that I probably wrote it in like 3 months, but I kept going back and just like toying with it or adding little things here and stuff. Right. I got my girl Fafa, the one on Wait For It. She's from Abu Dhabi. Okay. She actually just opened up for Bruno Mars like a month ago. Yeah, okay. So she was in the States. So she blessed me with those vocals.
Okay.
And then yeah, it just unfolded.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I still talk. I talk to him like 2-3 times a week. He's in Brazil right now, actually.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So he hit me up the other day. He's like, yeah, I've been in the studio for 2 days straight. I was like, oh, I'm ready. So
yeah.
So I'll probably give him a few days. He's gonna send me he already sent me some new stuff, which is
Okay.
like a completely different sound than what we've been doing. So.
But that's good though.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
Good.
Yeah, definitely. So the next project is gonna have a completely different sound,
Okay.
and that's what I like about him. He always like. I don't necessarily tell him what I want, and you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But he somehow
just knows and
like.
that's a good relationship.
Yeah.
That's with the producer for sure. And then like the song like "Come On Son," I really did like that one because like with the whole new Kanye that we're getting.
Yeah, the Sunday service.
Yeah.
Kanye.
And so like when I hear like the choir in the background, I was like, oh, it kind of sounds like the new Kanye album. And so is that one of those things where you're kind of playing with your sound, or is that something like you went for, or it just kind of just came together and it worked?
Well, he just sent me that song and I just like the vibe of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's funny that you said I didn't even think about it when he had sent me it at
Yeah.
the time, you know, but I even take it back to, you know, because when Kanye first started, he was kind of doing the gospel, you know, chop up.
He would incorporate it, yeah.
He would incorporate it. So,
Yeah.
and it's kind of funny that I'm from Chicago and he sends me a beat that's like that. And
Yeah.
I don't even think he like knew.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was kind of like just that connection, but. Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Kanye's production, you know, early on, and, you know, as experimental as he gets, but, like, you know, that's what you got to do. You got to be experimental. And with Heaven for Roses, it's like I wanted a track, like those last two, to not necessarily be, like, tracks with hooks, but more of, like, a dialogue, like I'm having a conversation with you.
Okay.
Where it's, like, kind of like shooting the shit.
Yeah.
Versus, you know, I feel it in all week long, you know, you can vibe with the hook.
Mm-hmm,
but the last two, it's like, hear me like speak and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and then with the choir in the background, I feel like it gives you that more like uplifting, you know.
Exactly.
But yeah, I even say in the song, I say no Sunday service. You know, I say a bar says no Sunday service, but I get you lifted or something like that. So.
And then like in the end of the song.
Oh, the Ric Flair.
The Ric Flair.
Yeah.
I didn't know who it was, right? But I'm like, who is this? And so I'm like Googling like the words that he's saying because I like what he's saying. I'm like, he is really like talking shit right now.
Yeah, Ric
and
Flair's
so
an icon.
okay. And so I saw that. So like I feel like you mentioned him a lot. Like just throughout. And so it's like, is there some type of like connection there? Is it inspiration or is it just someone that you like growing up?
Yeah, because my stepdad was very into wrestling, so
Okay.
I was like old school wrestling, new school. So
Yeah.
Ric Flair and The Rock, definitely two of my favorites.
Okay.
But yeah, just he was very like, just you know, yapping his mouth and always like just showing off, you know. But it was so entertaining.
Rolex wearing, like
alligator boots and stuff, you know. So like, but he was very entertaining. But like at the same time, like he was a very hardworking like wrestler. Like there's a documentary on him from ESPN 30 for 30 on like Ric Flair and like they say like he was a monster in the gym. Like he was all about like you know giving you a match, you know all that stuff. So I just like doing it because I know people know Ric Flair, and then or if they don't, like saying they look him up and stuff.
It up.
But like no, it's just kind of like it's kind of like I don't want to be the one kind of like you know talking shit. So I'm gonna pick somebody that I feel will be like okay can kind of match the energy of it. So and you know I like picking that up because he's like you know he's a little over the top.
Over the top.
But it's funny because it's kind of like a chill song. It's kind of like a chill song.
Right.
Like, you know, with the choir, then you have him just coming in.
Whoa! You thought it was over. Here comes his big old mouth.
Yeah. So no, I use him. I also use Rodney Dangerfield. Rest in peace to him. He was a comedian who was back like in the '80s and stuff.
Okay.
Like he's like one of the guys like one line kings. Like he'll say something and then the punchline will come right after.
Yeah.
And it'll just be like constant. So a few of my tracks on my SoundCloud, Dangerfield, and then a little different. I have like a joke of his in the beginning and a joke of his at the end.
Gotcha.
So I like to incorporate stuff like that, just to you know captures people's ears, things of that nature.
Yeah. Okay. And then the next song, I Feel It. Now I mentioned when I did my review that this was my favorite song, and you said it was sampled by the Temprees. It's called Love Maze. Their song Love Maze.
I believe that's one Edmure used.
Okay. And then so for this one, I feel like it was one of those songs where it's like you kind of like poured your heart out and like you put it on the track. And so like you're talking about just like, you know, whether it be like things within your family or, you know, just like the whole like journey to like greatness and like how extremely hard it is. Like how do you feel about kind of being like that vulnerable on a track? And is it scary? Because it's like, dang, like I'm saying these things and people are like listening to it. It's not something that's just for my ears.
Yeah. I mean, as an artist, you have to let that go. You have to,
Yeah.
you have to be vulnerable, you know, especially if you want to be an artist that lasts long in
Yeah.
this game.
Mm-hmm.
You want to drop quality music that people can relate to no matter, you know, how old they are.
Where did the name Ever Evolved come from, and what made you decide, hey, let's put together a collective?
Well, Ever Evolved was originally just a music blog,
Okay.
founded by my partner, William Bolanos. We had been going by a different name at the time.
Okay.
I think we were called like the Sandlot or something. Like,
Okay.
you know, so it was me and a handful of us that the guys already met, and we were with a bunch of other people, and we kind of had like, you know, butting of the heads when it came to how to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, had like a separation and stuff. And I sat down Will, Gridlock Andy, who's a producer, audio engineer, frequency producer, engineer, graphic designer, and I was just like, yo, like, I think we should go this way. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all are on the same page as far as like what we want to do moving forward. We've been at it for like, as a collective, probably like 6 years, maybe 6, 7 years, maybe.
Gotcha.
Just growing. We've been through like a few studios already.
Okay. And then when it comes to like scouting out talent and who you could, because it's a label. It's a label? Or
Yeah, I mean, I call it a collective. People
Okay.
call it a label because
Okay.
I guess we do what like a label does, or
Yeah.
we'll have a studio, we could put you on a show. we
Right,
can do that. It's
right.
not necessarily like I'm signing anybody, but it's just
I see.
the people that are in the collective. They didn't necessarily try out. It's kind of weird. It's like everyone has their own little story of how they snuck in the collective or
Okay.
stuck around. As far as like the main core, was we got like 15, 20 of us.
15, 20.
15
Wow.
to 20 of us, yeah.
And so if somebody wants to be down with Ever Evolved and they want to be a part of the crew, how do they go about that? You know,
Man,
if they're a rapper, they're a singer, how can they get put on?
I couldn't even give you an answer to that. I would just say like what we always tell artists, like, well, for one, like coming out to support, like that just shows that you're serious. Just by
Yeah.
hitting me up in my inbox, like, yo, I want to join the team. Like, I've never
Mhm.
seen you at an event. I've never
Right.
seen you do this. Like,
Right.
if like you never bought one of our services or bought into it, so it's
Yeah.
like first things first is like support. Like,
Right.
are you willing to support not just us, the artists that come to these shows?
Mhm.
Are you willing to stick around at shows and not just perform a dip?
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah.
it's all about like a test of character, I guess you could say, when it comes
Okay.
to that. And I always tell people, I'm like, you know, like we'll help you meet other people. Like maybe you can launch something of your own. You don't
Mhm.
necessarily have to, you know, because everybody in Ever Evolved essentially has like their own brand as well. So it's not like
Yes.
I'll compare us to
I was
like
gonna
we're
say.
kind of like it's kind of like when Wu-Tang back in the day.
That's so.
Yeah.
If you look at my notes, it's literally.
Oh.
I was like, yo, it's kind of like Wu-Tang, where
Yeah,
it's not
almost.
like, you know, it's not like a group where, you know, you all are each doing your own thing. It's like it's a group. You all will do projects together, but it's like, boom, you're Rhymster and you have your
Yeah.
thing going on, and then whatever artist, you know, they have their thing going on, and so like literally,
Yeah,
that's what I wrote down.
That's how Wu-Tang was.
Yeah.
You know, they together, but then you know they all had their own albums.
Exactly,
They were all doing their own
and
thing.
they were all like really doing their own
Exactly.
thing.
So that's, you know, me, Radcliffe, C-Mag, Kiddo, Jada Artist, our producers, our engineers,
Yeah.
the blog guys and stuff. So it's like
Yeah.
everyone's doing something, but at the end of the day, like we all have like a unified goal, knowing that like if this guy blows up tomorrow, we know that, you
We
know,
all blew up.
kind of, you know, because
Yeah.
so we're all pushing each other.
Yeah.
So I think that's like a solid foundation and we all understand that. We all understand the fact that it's bigger than just one of us.
And so I guess my question to you, just based upon kind of your experience doing this, you know, what would you say is like the biggest like positive benefit of being independent, and I guess what is like the biggest thing that you struggle with being independent?
Well, one's like the freedom of, you know, somebody not over my shoulder to be
Yeah.
like, oh, you need to drop this, you gotta go do this, you gotta be here, you gotta be there. And like, I feel like, you know, the dream of like signing to a label is like, it becomes a nightmare because every time I see a new artist sign to a label, then they start crying on Instagram, and, man, don't ever sign to this,
I'm
or like,
telling you.
or who, it was like Tory Lanez or somebody was like, oh, I'm gonna put Def Jam on blast, and I'm like, but you're a big artist, bro. I'm like, why,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So it's like, to see guys acting like that,
Yeah.
you know, and because you don't know people's situation, because they will be like, okay, here's $500,000 in advance, and
Mhm.
shoot, give me that $500,000, I'm going
Yeah.
crazy, you know. But
Yeah.
you gotta learn not to like fall for those traps.
Right.
And obviously, like a big struggle would be like, you know, it does cost money to invest in yourself, you know, to invest into an event, invest into like merchandise. So it's,
I'm seeing the merch.
Oh yeah, this is like a custom made one that this chick made. She goes by she changes her name like every 6 months.
Yeah.
Man, but this is like a pocket.
I really like it.
Like there's another pocket in here and stuff.
Dope. Is it like an overall
it's like a
jumpsuit type thing?
It's a hoodie, but she takes
okay, that is super dope.
Yeah, she'll take
that is super dope.
Like this is like a jean or something. So she'll put the jean on here. Like I had her put this on there. Like a few of my homies, we all got like custom ones.
Yeah, I like that. Is the 1992? Is that like your birth?
Yeah, that's when I was born.
Shout out to 1992.
Yeah, there we go, 92. Yeah. But I would say it's about like the barter system, about maneuvering, knowing how to like exchange services and stuff. So, for example, like my guy will put me on a show in like Ann Arbor, Michigan, and he'll hook me up with this dude who works at a hotel, so I get discounted, rooms, whatever. But then when he comes to Chicago, I hook him up with a show. I give him studio time.
When it comes to like future collaborations, obviously, you have a huge collective. You said it's about 15 of y'all. Yeah. And so when it comes to just like collaborating with just other artists throughout the city, kind of how do you go about that process, and who are you, like who's making a lot of noise in Chicago that you would like to collaborate with for any songs or upcoming projects?
Let's see. Well, guys like, the local scene like Mo Cyrus, Can't Buy Dean, those are the homies. They've been doing a lot of great work. I got some stuff in the vault with them. But like some bigger guys, maybe like a Sauber or something, like, I really like his sound. He does a lot of his own production, so I think that's dope. I've actually damn near seen Sauber's come up when he was at YCA with the Pivot Gang and stuff. So I've seen like his progression, but I think me and him on a track, I think that would be real dope.
Super dope. As far as very similar sound.
Yeah, as far as like the almost jazzy hip hop production mixed with just like a versatile amount of flows. Big Jenkins is another one I would definitely like to do some stuff with. He's very just like dark hip hop and like just like really spin some knowledge. He got like a deep ass voice too, so it's like he got some dope stuff. Who else? I'm Rhymster, get Rhyme Fest, and then get him on the track. That'd be dope.
Yeah.
I think that would be dope. Who else? There's like a handful of producers I would like to just work with, cook up with, that are from Chicago. Seasick, he's from Chicago. He's been going crazy in the production. Trying to think who else. I had a few people in mind. I just know so many local artists that I would just like dabble with. But those are some of the top ones I'd say. Those guys in the local scene, I feel like I can make some like whether I produce for them or they get on a track with me, like, I could definitely make something hot for you. So, but usually when I collab with people, I invite them to the studio and be like, yo, if you got some beats, just vibe out, or if you want to cook some, or and sometimes it's not even necessarily about making music. Sometimes it's just about getting to know that person first, because it's like, how are we gonna make something raw if we don't really know each other, or if we don't, talk about wlife or whatever.
Like, so how can you even connect? Because you can tell when there's like a disconnect on a track.
Yeah, you can tell when two people are just like, we just made this. You paid me to be a feature, and I just gave you a 16. Like, but when it's real, you can feel that connection and stuff. So I'm all about like, just a connection.
Do you write for other artists as well? Like any of the artists on your collective?
No, everybody in the collective has a very sharp pen of their own. I mean, we'll like help each other as far as like, maybe finishing a bar, or we'll come up with a hook together. But I always encourage everybody. I'm like, yo, like work on your pen game. You know what I'm saying? Work on your hooks. Work on your bridges, your bars, and you could definitely see the growth in everyone from like when they first started rocking with us to now and stuff. We were laughing about it the other day. We were saying our homegirl, her name is Beatrice Kiddo, from when we first met her to now, like she's she just got so much better, like in a short amount of time, from her stage presence to her confidence on the mic in the booth and stuff. So somebody was like, yeah, you guys run a school. I started laughing.
The whole artist development that's like lacking these days. Like I was just gonna talk about that. Like, you're really developing artists, and I think that not a lot of people are doing that.
Yeah, I didn't really realize that until like people started bringing it up more. Like, yo, like when I started rocking with you guys, I started taking this more serious or this and that. And I tell people a live performance, I'm like, I'm not the biggest fan of people going on stage and be like, okay, well, this next song is called this and it's about this. And I'm like, first of all, no one knows the song, and you trying to explain it to them is just taking away from the time you could be,
telling the story through the song.
And I look at it as like almost like theatrical, kind of like, what I was telling the Ric Flair thing, like he was theatrical. He made you pay attention, and then he delivered like in the ring. So it's like when I tell him, like, guys, my artists, I hope, I'm like, yo, like think of some call and responses. Think of, you know,
Yes.
if you're a smoker, you know, throw some free blunts in the crowd or something.
Yeah.
Like you have to be theatrical so they could be like, oh man, this guy was crazy. He jumped out
What
the
is it
crowd
about
and
you
stuff.
that sticks out to who you are?
Exactly. Like,
What's
you know,
memorable?
don't try to be like this guy. Like, what makes you, you know what I'm saying? Are you funny? Like, tell a joke then. You know what I'm saying? Like, be personal. And I tell people, like, being on stage is like having a conversation with one giant person, but it's really like a bunch of people. You know, you have, I could say something that all of you can relate to in different ways.
Yeah.
You know, so, but it's just being real with yourself and practicing the craft. Like, if you're a sports athlete or,
right,
you know, you work on cars, whatever it is that your passion is, you know, like, you have to work at it. You have to get better.
And so finally, what is next for Rhymster? What does he got going for 2020?
Man.
Obviously, a lot of shows. You're going to shout those out, but like, what you got going on?
Well, for me personally, traveling a lot. Like I said, I'm going to Orlando next weekend to perform. Shout out my guy Ivy of Bro Life out there. He's sending me up a show here. I just had him up here for 2 shows, so he's returning the favor.
Super dope.
Omaha, Madison, Wisconsin, Vienna, Austria, May 22nd.
Which is crazy. Is that the whole crew going?
Yeah, 15 of us going deep. Oh man, it's gonna be crazy.
Wow.
I've applied to endless festivals, so in the next month I should be like getting word back from a lot of them to be like, and I've applied all over the world, so I don't even know yet.
Yeah.
So it could be anywhere. Like I said, at Revolve, we have about 5 to 6 events a month. We have our 1st and 4th Tuesdays at Subterranean, out there in Wicker Park. Yeah, man, some barbecues I'm gonna be throwing. I'm gonna be throwing some like barbecues slash like,
and then
like
release party performances.
Yeah, so me and my guy SA, we're having
that's dope.
a release party at Auxiliary Arts Center, and we're gonna have a barbecue. We're gonna have like vendors. But yeah, I'm gonna be releasing a lot more music. My one single product of me was on Shade 45 with DJ Nazim Williams, XM Radio. I have my next song, OD, that video is gonna drop March 8th, and then that song's gonna be on Shade 45 as well.
Got you.
So a lot of like, you know, I kind of said forget local radio. I'm going like straight to XM satellite radio, you know. So that was a big accomplishment this year for me. Man, seeing what other big artists I got open for. But I think my main goal this year is just really set my foot in these other places, especially like Europe. Because when we go to Europe, like, we're already going to be setting up the show for the fall. So we're not just going to do like the one and done, you know, like it's the seed's going to get planted. Right. Going to go back. Right. I definitely want to hit Canada for sure.
And then is there like a cadence when it comes to like you personally releasing music? I know you said you have something coming March 8th.
Yeah.
Right? Is it going to be like singles every month and then, you know, this month we're going to release another EP, or kind of what's your goal for like projects and stuff?
The DreamWorks, well, the song, we're dropping a single March 8th, but the project probably won't come out till like late April, early May. And then I have another project, which is more like called the Jazz Cigarette with my guy Asthmatic. He, it's more of like a Tribe Called Quest feel type of the project, so that'll probably be like late May, early June. Gotcha. The singles I like to just drop them randomly. Yeah. So whether it be, I might drop like a single just on SoundCloud and it won't be out somewhere else.
I see.
And then maybe something on streaming platforms, or maybe just on this one platform it'll be. So the little things here and there. Gotcha. Like I said, whatever Evolve, our collective, we have so many like songs just together, so we might just be like, out the sky randomly dropping it on the page. Yeah. So it might be like, you know, like the Wu-Tang would be like 4 or 5 of us on a track type deal. Yeah. But no, I really don't have like a set thing. I think I have like, there's enough music that I have out that people can go back and listen to. Yeah. And like at shows, I always perform like, I always perform unreleased music at shows. So people be like, what? And even my own DJs are like, yo fam, where that song at? I'd be like, I haven't even recorded that yet. Like I just have the verses on. Wow. So you'll always hear like new stuff, and you'll be like, when's that coming out? Like, I probably won't drop it for like a year.
Yeah.
So
wow. A year.
Actually.
Maybe a month or.
Product of me. I had that song probably for like a year and a half, and I performed it all 2019. Okay. And I did not drop it until like 2 weeks ago. So
y'all, it's JessMelodies.
This is Rhymster with Chicago Got Next. You can follow me at Rhymster13. That's RHYMSTER13 on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. My collective is Ever Evolved, EVEREVOLVED. at revolve.com, all across the board. My new single, Product to Me, is out now on all streaming platforms. My new EP, Heaven for Roses, out now. Shout out to New York Quinn in Brazil, Puerto Rico, wherever he is. Shout out to him then. Next one coming up soon. Catch us at Sub T every first and fourth Tuesdays of the month. All MCs are invited, competitive, open mic. If you cypher, you got bars, come on through, spit. Thanks for having me, appreciate it.
That's it. Chicago got next.